A group of prominent Nigerians in the north, including General Martin Luther Agwai, Professor Athahiru Jega, and Dr. Usman Bugaje, have warned President Bola Tinubu against dragging Nigeria into a needless and complex proxy war in the Niger Republic that would potentially be fought by foreign interests engaged in the new geopolitical repositioning of world powers. In an open letter to President Tinubu, the concerned Nigerians group, made up of prominent northern security, academic, political and civil society experts, say the strong presence of French, American, and to a lesser extent, Italian security personnel and assets, including a large U.S. drone base in Niger, creates a situation that could easily transform ECOWAS intervention for the restoration of democracy into a complete proxy war.
Well, they encouraged more diplomatic engagements to protect the brotherly relations between Nigeria and Niger, saying that all measures taken should not be allowed to harm the Nigerian people. While the group also frowns at the cutting off of electricity supply to Niger, which they say breaks a long-standing treaty obligation between both nations, while warning that it may ultimately harm Nigeria's national interest, especially on the Kandaji Dam, currently under construction by the Nigerian government.
We're now joined by retired Major General Henry Ayoola, who is a former theater commander of Operation Safe Haven and a former Chief of Defense Research and Development at the Defense Headquarters. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, Tulu. Thank you very much,
the situation in Niger is becoming more worrisome than how it started. And the optics are beginning to look both confusing and worrying. Speak to us about managing the perception as we speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to start by making it very clear that the challenge in Niger is multi-dimensional, multifaceted, multi-pronged, and multi-tracked. And so the solutions must follow that same pattern. Right. It would be simplistic to just reduce it to a matter of coup. I mean, that's the outcome we have seen. That's the manifest response that is before us. When you remember that there is a growing discontent, a growing dissatisfaction among the Francophone West African countries. Of course, if you recall our sister, Dr. Arikana Chibonhombi, and one very courageous lady from Kenya recently spoke in a function where President Macron was seated there. And I saw him taking note. And that lady boldly came out and made it clear that the deliberate and systematic pillaging and looting of the divine endowment of these countries has come to a head, and the people are tired. And they are looking out for a way to put an end to it. It's like what we call the conditions precedent that led to the Arab Spring. You remember the Arab Spring? Yes. Yeah. I hope we are not having the Sahel Spring in our hands.
There you go.
Yeah, because we need to look at it, holistically. I mean, usually we talk about remote causes, then you talk about the immediate causes and all of that. We need to put all of that together. When you look at the complexity, the web of complex interest, intricacies, some are convergent, some are divergent, some are even, canceling out each other. And some of the, players, both local, immediate, and international players within that arena, we need to think again.
So, what you're saying is when the ECOWAS leaders sit together and come up with this decision to deploy a standby force immediately, they're losing sight of this multidimensional, factors that you talk about. Some experts, everybody's said to President Tinubu and ECOWAS, as a matter of fact, don't go to war. Don't let these things, get out of hand. Is it a proxy war that we're really seeing between Russia and NATO? And not necessarily, it's not like it's the interest of the region or sub-region, if you like, that the West and the countries that seem to have interest in Niger, that's not the reason why they're interested in Niger.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, I said there's a web of intricate interests. Okay, for me, what I see ECOWAS doing is good.
Right.
It's in keeping with, you know, there's this principle of every effort in international relations, diplomacy, international law, where you put up incrementally all kinds of measures towards achieving a given goal. The first thing is to ask ourselves, what exactly is the strategic end state that ECOWAS is looking at? What are they trying to achieve? What exactly are we trying to achieve? For me, I mean, I think for a people who planned a coup is not an accident.
Right.
It's not a flippant action. It's something they have thought through. And they know they will have factored into it what their responses will be to ECOWAS response. It's not happening for the first time. You're talking of a situation where Guinea is in that state, Chad is in that state, Burkina Faso is in that state, Mali is in that state. These are fans of mutual admiration club. Okay? And they are not going to, they are not moved. If you watch the guys there, well, I don't encourage coup. I mean, it's often said that the best benevolent military regime is worse than the worst democratic regime. Absolutely. I agree with that. The concept of making any change by non-conventional and non-constitutional means I don't agree with it. But I'm saying beyond that, that's what we see. That's just a manifestation of a displeasure that has been long-standing and deep-seated.
So how should this be handled now? Now that things have gotten to this.
Very good. For me, you know, there are a number of diplomatic options. You know, so far we've been applying deterrence, applying escalation. What I actually see ECOWAS is doing is an escalation towards brinkmanship, which is perfectly in order. I mean, there is already a groundswell of opinion against going into use of force. The government is a listening government. I don't see them going any way in that direction. But of course, if a threat has to be credible, then you must approach that brink. You know, brinkmanship is the art of getting to the edge of war without getting into the war. Yeah, so you got to get there. If not, your threat will be just spurious phantom threat. So you think to make the threat credible, they must go this route.
So you think that ECOWAS threat to immediately activate the standby force, the ECOWAS standby force, is not credible?
You know, the concept of strategic communication will not permit me to be more specific than that. But the point I'm making is very simple. In the pursuance of brinkmanship or escalation, this is still in order. But I can tell you, I mean, nobody wants to fight war. The global economy itself is challenged. There's no nation in the world that is not feeling the pinch. Following from COVID and then followed with the Russian invasion, every nation is trying to look how to work on this economy. So this is not a time anybody wants to go into some frivolous war. You know, and at any rate, is there a standby
That's a good point,
force?
because I was actually, you took that out of my mouth.
Not saying
is there, I mean, with your military background, you would know, I mean, there's no better person to be asking that question. Is there a standby force?
Because I was on a channel like this, and the guy asked me, so, we will call back ECOMOG to, I said, which ECOMOG? Where is ECOMOG? ECOMOG was the first formed for a given mission. It's gone. It's not a standing force.
So is there one? I mean, if you are asking, who do we ask then?
Again,
what,
you know,
what you seem to be saying is there's no standing
we
force.
all know that. There's a concept of that.
Right.
And when there's a need to do it, you have to muster the force. The troop contributing countries will come together. And how many countries in West Africa really have the capacity to do that?
Okay, are you saying that, are you worried that the West African countries may not have the capacity to do it, or you're saying outright that over and beyond the concept of ECOWAS standby force, there is no standby force?
You know, I have to make this very clear. It's very simple. Like I said, it's a concept, a formidable concept of how ECOWAS can pull together, you know, resources and, you know, troops from different ECOWAS countries to deal with security issues like this. Okay, it's there. That concept is there. Of course, even the US that has global presence all over the world with 11 unified combatant commands, they don't keep troops you know, just down waiting for something to happen. They have headquarters in the appropriate places, operational consideration responsible for where they are located. But when there is something to be done, it's those headquarters that will now mobilize the troops that will do them. That's how it's done. You don't keep troops down. It's just like money. You don't tie money that is fungible. It's the same way with the challenges, and no nation is not challenged. When you look at Nigeria with the overtaxed armed forces that we have, nobody is going to be tying the troops down somewhere to be a standby force. It is when the need arises, you mobilize to fit that requirement.
Retired Major General Henry Ayoola, we don't have the luxury of time. We wish you could go ahead, but we do know that it's not as if there's a physical force somewhere in a physical location.
All right,
we'll but just a concept that has to be activated, and then they put forces together. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Newsnight.
General Henry Ayoola, retired, former theatre commander, Operation Safe Haven. Thank you so much for joining us.